All right, guys, back on Southeastern 16 with Max Barr. He's here, the one and only Max Barr. Fired up, ready to talk some Cats, some Gators. Two more wins for the SEC in the first round, Max. We'll see if Oklahoma can keep the streak going tonight against UConn. Maybe difficult, but hey, we'll find out. But yeah, appreciate you guys hopping in, Kentucky fans. I know a lot of you will be here to talk about the Cats' win over Troy, getting a nice 76-57 victory. Meanwhile, Florida 95, Norfolk State 69 in that game. So if you missed it earlier, we did talk about the other games from the day in the SEC, minus Oklahoma, who will tip off here in a little bit. But, Max, let's start with the Cats, because it's not a knock on Florida, but we know we'll have a lot more Kentucky fans here jumping in early to talk about this game. Since, again, the 3-14 matchup, obviously understandable to be a little nervous about how this could play out, but I think it sort of was what we said, right? We're like, Troy just did not fit the profile of a team, like an Oakland, like some of these other teams that have pulled upsets in the past, kind of in the seed line range. And we knew they were going to shoot threes, but we said the percentages just were not there. And, they go 8 of 32 in this game, 25% from three to Troy. Of course, Kentucky got off to a slow start shooting the ball too, but they wind up going 10 of 26, made a lot more shots there after some early struggles. I thought this would be a game that you could see Troy make it interesting for a couple different stretches, but their percentages were just not high enough to feel like they were going to be able to outscore Kentucky, who you knew would get their points. So,
Cats fans, how are we feeling? How are we doing? Probably feeling pretty good, I'd imagine, Blake. Were you ever in doubt at any point? Did the heart rate ever increase? Did you ever get a little bit of a flutter of, oh no? I'll admit, I probably had one or two. I was going to say I didn't have, but I did. I had one or two. But it feels great, says Holly. Iron's feeling pretty good.
How about this one?
What do we got here from Bill? What do we got?
First time Kentucky's had a 20-point lead in an NCAA tournament game since 2019. So finally able to just sit back and be like, all right, let's exhale. Let's start thinking about the next game. So, yeah.
Yep. Matt says his blood pressure went up every time they missed a layup. Okay, how many times, guys? Tell me this. How many times did you say, just dunk the ball? Just dunk it. Because I'll tell you what, the broadcast said it about 50 times. I'll tell you what, Amari, great game. I told you, defensive rebounding. He was going to have to. Troy leans on that against the mid-majors using their physicality. 12 defensive rebounds, 13 rebounds total. But oh my goodness. Throw two hands on it. Break the rim in half. Dunk that basketball, Amari. How about Chandler, too? Colin Chandler playing some of his most confident basketball of the year. Giving them some spark off the bench. A little Chandler spark off the bench. Love to see it. And then Andrew Carr, as we've been saying, now finally healthy, was nowhere near himself, trying to play through the games where you would play for a few minutes and then have the heat pad or back brace or whatever it was that he was going on to. He's good. He's good to go, Blake. The boys are ready. Lamont Butler, maybe not ready to play some offense, but he doesn't need to. He doesn't need to. Holding Troy to 57 points. What a defensive effort.
By the way, I knew someone would bring this up, and I was thinking we probably should just dedicate an entire segment to the Amari Williams coast-to-coast dunk. That was the thing of beauty that he put together on that one, not going to lie. That was pretty awesome. So, yeah, I think, like you said, it was one where I appreciate him going to the fundamentals of, layups and those kind of things, but let's just dunk the ball. I mean, just throw it in there. And I know, too, Matt was talking about wasn't happy with the ball protection in terms of the strength of the ball protection there, I guess. I feel like the SEC lost the 50-50 balls in round one. There were a lot of those I feel like the SEC did not. The other team had a chance to kind of get those more. Probably won that battle. But Yeah, I mean, I think, again, it's kind of one of those, and Rob says it here. And how many times have we said this so far with some of these top teams? That maybe we don't. Even Florida's probably going to come out of this, and we'll talk about them in a minute. They're going to be like, we had some stretches that weren't the best, but it's like, yeah, but it's true. Like Kentucky won their game by 20, ton of mistakes and turnovers that aren't going to fly with tougher teams. I mean, we could just repeat that for, all the top seeds to this point, because it kind of feels like that's the way it's gone. No one has just looked invincible necessarily, even though, again, Florida probably the closest of the group. But yeah, we always say something. It's like just getting that first game out of your system, no matter what it's like, again, you just have to avoid the upset. And if you can do that in round one, I think we've seen so many times over the years, the numbers tell us that these teams are going to react positively once you get to round two and you kind of get that first game out of the way. But again, that's listen, we're talking about a Kentucky win. I don't think we should be going too far in the opposite direction, like Kentucky fans have said in the chat. I think they're going to be pretty pleased with that idea that they're just advancing in a comfortable 19-point win, even though sometimes it was not that comfortable. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I also got on. We didn't really mention the preview. A lot of these guys, because we did mention, you got Lamont Butler, a guy that's been there, done that, played deep into the tournament, been on a Dutcher squad before. But a lot of these guys, and we mentioned Almanor, a lot of these guys didn't play in the tournament. Chandler, the freshman off the bench, Amari Williams, Andrew Carr, so Brandon Garrison. So, I'm just trying to back up your point of getting that first one out of the way a little bit. I've seen some chatter about expectations for Illinois/Xavier. Let us know in the chat how you're feeling. But using the VSiN guide, I can give you a projected spread. For against Illinois, you'd be about +2.5, maybe +3. Against Xavier, flip it, maybe -2, -3. Either way, next game gonna be projected to be a tight one against both teams. Can absolutely light it up, can shoot it. That'll probably be one of the more fun matchups of the second round, Blake. Kentucky against whichever offense they end up against, whether it's Xavier or Illinois.
Yeah, quickly before we continue on that theme, Rob's asking, how do you join the It Just Means More tier here at Southeastern 16? Just drop the link in the chat. That'll take you to the desktop version, but that's the best way to join in. So we appreciate you guys supporting the channel. Hundreds of members now, and that's a pretty cool thing because I think when we started basketball season, we didn't have many at all, but we've got hundreds of members that have joined throughout basketball season. So we appreciate you guys for that. And of course, you'll get some fun members-only content coming as well. But all right. So, yeah, I think, like you said, it's going to be interesting. And, of course, we'll have this game preview up tomorrow. Once we know who wins tonight between Illinois and Xavier, we'll have the preview up for that game. We'll have the preview up for Ole Miss, Iowa State, and Alabama, St. Mary's. I think those are the only ones so far. We'll know Florida's opponent tonight as well, either Oklahoma or UConn. So, yeah, we'll have those up tomorrow. So, yeah, I think, again, it's one where I think with some, let's see, Jared said it a minute ago. Not 100% thrilled with the win. And I think that's fair. I think that's how a lot of probably teams feel in the SEC so far. Not 100% thrilled with your performance because there are some stretches you can definitely learn from. But, again, I do feel like we're going to see some of these teams bounce back in the second game and have more of that vintage regular season type performances that we've seen from some of them. At least that's the hope, right? Because now, how many teams is that, Max? It's 7, 8 into the field of 32.
Oh boy,
I can't keep up. We tried to do this earlier, and I was like, I can't even do the math on how many teams are still left standing. That's what happens when you get a lot of teams in, I guess. But Auburn, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Kentucky, Ole Miss, that's 7. Arkansas is 8. Yeah, so 8. So, listen, let's get on that real quick, too. All right. And by the way, we're going to let some bragging happen about the bracket contest in a minute. But
yes,
I don't care what the online chatter is about the SEC so far in the NCAA tournament. If you have a quarter of the field of 32, you're doing okay. And remember, the teams that have lost have pretty much been either underdogs or pick'em type scenarios, right? Where the underdogs, we talked about Georgia, Texas. I don't know if Texas was underdog in that game, but again, that's more of a
They were.
maybe not be in the field type scenario. Georgia, Vanderbilt was an underdog. Mississippi State was basically a pick 'em against Baylor, maybe 1 point favorite, whatever it was. Missouri lost as a favorite, but Arkansas won as an underdog, so it kind of cancels those out. And then Ole Miss beats, the red hot Tar Heels. And so, again, I know people are going to make a lot of this because it's the SEC getting 14 in, but my goodness, I think you're going to get at least 8 in. Oklahoma wins tonight, you're going to get 9 to the round of 32. So,
do you remember how many teams we had in the Sweet 16 last year? Not round of 32, 16.
What did it wind up being, like 2 or 3?
3.
3.
We had 3.
Yeah.
Appreciate where we're at right now.
Yeah. Well,
But Oklahoma and UConn just getting started. I'll try not to get too distracted with that one, Blake.
come on, Oklahoma. Take out the defending
Come on.
back-to-back national champions. I think it's going to be a tall task. But anyways, so again, on the Kentucky front, like we said, we'll talk about kind of everything, overall thoughts from the day. But, I mean, Otega-Oweh, speaking of Oklahoma, I mean, again, it's just like,
Hey, there you go.
this dude is just something. And it is. It's so funny to go back to the conversations we had in the summer where we're trying to figure out
Oh my
Kentucky's
gosh.
lineup, and we're just like, where do we put Otega-Oweh? And we just did not talk about him a ton. It's, by the way, great comment here, too. Anna says, still fixated on Otega heading the ball. Yeah. This was one of those where he had some of those very memorable moments in the game, to say the least. So, yeah. But, yeah, easy, too, as Johnny says, to be excited about Colin Chandler. There's no doubt about that as well. But Oweh, just an absolute machine. So,
Got a lot to be excited about. To be honest, I know we still got basketball to play, but got a lot to be excited about. I mean, how could you not watch the last month of Kentucky basketball here and not be excited about retaining these guys and giving them a full off season? There's a lot to be excited about. And also this could be a point for Mark Pope. He didn't have a tournament selling point, a postseason selling point. You go catch yourself a Sweet 16, go catch yourself a potential Elite 8. Look at the guys he brought in. Now you say, okay, hey, look at, you want to come to an Elite 8? Come play for us here. This could be big time. Looking forward to next year. But even just to now, Blake, I'm already thinking about Illinois, already thinking about Xavier, these matchups. If I'm being honest right now, I would rather play Illinois. I think Kentucky is a better team than Illinois. I think Amari Williams would really get his physicality going. No one's going to stop him on Illinois, whereas Fremantle and Xavier, a little bit more physical. You got any initial thoughts on that, or am I already jumping the gun, getting a little too excited about the Cats in the second round?
well, I think the difference to me is I think Illinois is way more streaky. And they are just way harder to, I think, get a feel for than Xavier right now, because we brought up kind of the stats about how well Xavier had been playing down the stretch. I mean, this was a team, again, that had won 7 in a row heading into the Big East tournament before they lost by 2 to Marquette. And so they're playing really well right now. But if you look at the mixed bag of results we've gotten from Illinois, you don't know what you're going to get when it comes to that team. We've seen the good, but man, we've seen the bad too, right? That Duke game stands out. They lost by 21 at Wisconsin, lost by 14 at home to Michigan State, lost by 23 in the Big Ten tournament to Maryland, gave up 94 to Iowa, even in a win. Like, I know that's a good offensive team, but still, like, these are all the things that you're compiling and saying, how on earth do you have any idea we're going to get with Illinois? Maybe tonight will give us a great indicator of that, right? Like, maybe they come out and they look like the old Illinois, and all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, hold on, can we get Xavier the win? I don't know, but I think I'm with you. Like, I just think Illinois is just very hard to figure out right now. Meanwhile, I think Xavier's playing their best basketball of the season, and so Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of right there with you on Illinois at this point, but we'll see how it plays out tonight. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's so, but it's also, it's like looking at and I know you already reacted to it, but looking at the Ole Miss North Carolina game, like you don't want to dive too much into one game like we did.
Yeah, we
And,
did.
say, oh, look at Illinois barely won by 2 points. We got them. We're going to win easy. Like, it's so matchup based on a neutral core here, game to game, that we even probably messed up there by jumping the gun on the heels.
All right, let's get to some super chats, and then we're going to talk a little bit about Florida, and then we'll kind of tie in some questions people have about the second round, kind of looking at matchups and all that. By the way, Rob got in. He's a member of the It Just Means More tier. We appreciate Rob jumping in, joining it there. And Stuart, $2 super chat. Denver Jones is chewing gum anxiety regarding the SEC in round 2. Yeah, listen. I always, again, you guys know me. Like I absolutely put a money line bet on Troy because I just was trying everything. I did everything I could on my side because we all picked Kentucky and we didn't bring up the you know what. We didn't bring up those those words. We didn't even say it. So I just wanted to make sure I did my part though by throwing away money by betting on Troy. Just because that's what I do for you guys. I don't mind throwing away the money for you guys.
Yep.
Mother Carol's excited. $2 super chat. Been waiting a year for it. Yep. I can remember. Boy, you want to talk about? We all remember this live stream a year ago and what that was like. My goodness, go back and watch it. Yeah, I'm sure it was quite a scene we had on here a year ago at this time. But we appreciate Mother Carol as always, the overall #1 seed when it comes to the chat. Zach, $5 super chat. Chalky first round. Like it though, because the second round matchups are going to be juicy. That's the thing too, Max. You said it. You were talking about earlier, like you hadn't had those big double-digit underdog wins that we're used to seeing in this tournament. Luckily, the SEC escaped those. That's a nice thing in round 1. But yeah, this does set up a lot of these second round matchups now. And we talked about the 8 seeds, we talked about the 9 seeds, the 7-10 games, all those, and now we're getting a lot of those matchups. So it's gonna be great. So
yeah, unless Bryant upsets Michigan State, there's not going to be a single double-digit underdog to win in the first round. I don't know when the last time that was, and I believe no 13, 14, 15, or 16, right? Just McNeese as the 12 and Colorado State.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's any indication. Someone with an all 4 1 seed Final Four, or some people maybe in good spots.
So Drake was an underdog, but I think that was more of your sort of trendy. I just feel like everyone was picking Drake. It was the 6'11". Were they 5.5? Wound up being 5.5, something like that. Yeah.
So 5.5 or 6.5.
Yeah, I don't remember what it wound up being, but there was a stat. I'm gonna see if I can find it from the usual VSiN guide. There was a stat. Okay, so yeah, it would have stayed at 5.5, but it was one in there where it was pick'ems or small favorites of 5 points or less. SEC teams are an ugly 45-51 straight up and 37-55-4 against the spread, 40.2% in the tournament since 1999. So guess who we saw lose that? Mississippi State as a 1-point favorite, I think it wound up being. And so, you had a couple of those like that where you just, struggled in that spot. So, but anyways. All right, let's get to a couple other things. Shout out to Holly here. Yeah, we told you guys we were going to be streaming them everywhere. I mean, tomorrow, like I said earlier, the games are all spread out. That's nice. So you kind of have game 1, when that one's over, kind of game 2 starts, game 3 after that, then game 4. So they're all spread out tomorrow. So, depending on what everybody's schedule is, we're going to get you as many post-game reactions we can, because those are the big ones to decide who goes to the Sweet 16. And so, we'll be doing those tomorrow. First game tips off, I think 1:40 Central is St. John's, Arkansas from the SEC front. We continue on from there. A&M, Michigan. Nice little bully ball afternoon for everyone. Nothing like a little bully ball in the afternoon. And then you've got, like we said, I think Auburn, Creighton is kind of the start of the night session. And then Tennessee UCLA is a late night one tomorrow night. That one I think around 8:40 Central-ish, something like that. So who knows? That might benefit the Bruins playing a late night game.
The Bruins.
So, by the way, Michael wants to know, can I teach dunking? Asking for a friend. Not gonna lie to you, Michael. I've never dunked a ball on a regulation goal in my life, but
yeah,
I could teach someone perhaps with the kind of height of, let's say, a hypothetical person named William Amari.
Okay.
Yeah, someone out there named that. Perhaps I could teach that too. But yeah,
heard of him.
All right. Any thoughts on Florida? Don't worry, Carter. I see your comment. We're going to get to it after we talk about the Gators. This was kind of again, Norfolk State had a couple stretches where I could tell Todd Golden was getting a little pissed. But I think other than that, a 26-point win for Florida. Again, this was just kind of your typical 1 versus 16. I thought there were some defensive stretches that left a little bit to be desired for Florida. That was probably more notable than anything, I felt like. But, everything else, they had 21 offensive rebounds. They gave up 14 offensive rebounds. That's probably not going to be a point of excitement on the stats for Todd Golden. But other than that, I can't really pick apart too much with the Gators here. Like I said, it's game 1, and there were some stretches where you're like, that wasn't the greatest, but come on. They won by 26 or whatever, so...
Yeah, similar to, not similar, but maybe to a lesser extent, but of Auburn's reaction. Todd Golden's post game, just not pleased, not satisfied. Like, we got things to clean up. We got to be better than that. What's this you got pulled up here?
Yeah, so Cameron just says, look solid. The defense was lacking. That was the problem. Yeah, they just kind of took their foot off the gas. And you get that sometimes in these kind of games. So,
yeah. So, and I kind of like that, to be honest. I kind of like that. I know you would love to it's March and you'd love to just crush everybody. Sure. But as a 1 seed, as a top seed, top 4 seed, maybe having a little bit of a test just to kind of, amp up that focus, just tighten it up even a little bit more. Like, hey guys, listen, I know we're a top seed here, but look we just let Norfolk State, as Zach mentions, had a kill shot, 10-0 run, or the 3 stops in a row. You can't be doing that. And so I think it's just going to be a nice, snap into it, boys. We got a tough 8-9 game to play here. I think it'll end up helping them out, Blake. Yeah,
they can definitely use this heading into it, especially, again, if the opponent's UConn. Like, you're telling me if you can't get, the attention, I think that should be all you need. So, I think they can use this absolutely because, again, if that's the opponent, there are so many things outside of just, hey, here's the statistical elements to this game. Like, hey, it's defending back-to-back national champions. I don't care where they're seated, where they were ranked, who they lost to. None of that matters because they've not lost a game in this tournament for whatever, right?
Right.
So for years, multiple years now. So it's just it's one of those scenarios where I think they'll get it cleaned up. But yeah, if you're curious, if you're busy watching the Kentucky game or other games, this was kind of your statistical Florida type performance, I guess you could say. Walter Clayton with 23, Elijah Martin had 17, Condon had 12, Tommy H had 13 off the bench. So everyone played pretty much. Aberdeen, I thought, did some good things. So yeah, the defense it's got to be cleaned up a little bit, but Alabama probably feels the same way. Other teams feel the same way too. And I just think, like we said, tomorrow is going to be the day. Sunday is going to be the day where this decides, can you clean up some of these things that in game 1 you just happen to have sometimes. And so, we'll find out for the Gators, but I don't think if we play the matchup game like we did for Kentucky, I think we all are in agreement that I think if you're Florida, you'd rather see Oklahoma than UConn. I think that's fair. But maybe I'm wrong about that. So.
No, I don't think you're wrong about that at all.
I know
we like Mr. Moser here. By the way, have you seen the Mr. Moser rumors? I don't know if I should
I've
mention
seen them.
those, but okay. I was just wondering if those have been
They're
seen.
out there.
Yeah, they are. Which
They're out
is
there.
quite the storyline now. It could turn into Blake and I think we're gonna get a break after this tournament, and nope. Nope.
That's not happening.
Coaching carousel. It's time.
We're gonna have multiple coaching situations to talk about. I'm fairly certain. Yeah. So you heard that. Multiple. I think we're going to be talking about multiple coaching situations in the SEC. So
Yeah.
It
is what
but
it is.
if the current rumor is true, I think it makes a lot of sense for all parties involved in terms of fit. But we'll get to that if we get to that. So let's let Oklahoma continue their chances here against the Huskies at the moment.
Yes.
But
Sorry. Gotta have it.
yeah. I don't have a lot more to add on Florida. I think the bigger story again is who they play tomorrow or who they play Sunday, and we'll break that down when it comes to the matchup tomorrow. So, Mother Carol, $2 super chat is a 20-0 run, 2 kill shots. So you get double for that.
Isn't a kill shot 3 stops in a row with a score on each one or something like that? I know Evan Mia does it.
I know. I'd have to look up the actual criteria, but it's something like that.
It's something like a 10-0 run or 3 defensive stops in a row. It's a 10-0 run. Okay, that's all it is.
Yeah, I think it's however he decides it. Yeah.
You need 3 stops in a row to get a 10-0 run. Same thing.
Yeah. By the way, score update. Xavier's up 3 on Illinois. That'll do it. Let's start
the
doing
count.
The prep work. Starting the prep work for the Musketeers. So, yeah.
How's the bracket, Blake? What shape's the bracket in? How are you doing?
Yeah, it's not great. Brian, by the way, only 1 miss so far. I have not even looked at my bracket since Creighton beat up Louisville.
Wow.
No joke. I said I'm done after that one. I haven't even looked at it, but I know it's not good because remember, I did decide to go a little reverse mojo in the official bracket picks when I took Kansas, when I took North Carolina. You know, I kind of reserved those spots for the non-SEC teams, wondering if we could, work a little magic there. It's so far so good for those two, but the upsets, I mean, I had San Diego over Michigan. That one didn't go well. High Point over Purdue. I did have Colorado State over Memphis, but, I mean, not a lot other than that. It's gone right for the bracket. So,
do you still have your whole Elite Eight?
Surely, right? Yeah. I still have the Elite Eight. Yeah, because I had all 1s and 2s except for 1-3, and that was Florida Texas Tech. Which, by the way, I don't feel great about that one right now, but we'll see.
As long as you got your Elite Eight intact,
yeah,
I think you're still in the mix. This is probably the longest I've gone without my champion being knocked out in years.
Yeah, and then by the way, the first round's still not over, but yeah, that's the length of it. Yeah, that's usually you lose a Final Four team in that opening window on Thursday is usually how it goes for me every year. So, by the way, top of the bracket group right now.
Oh yeah,
interview requests. How about that? All right. Brian said he's only missed 1 too, so we'll see. Long way to go, but I bet there was a lot of other people who picked all 1 seed, so I don't know. Well, I can tell you whose bracket's not in good shape. That's Zach here. He had Clemson in the Final Four. Zach's bracket has been officially torched. That will do it. So Mother Carol's not even discussing her bracket. So, yeah. Anyways, all right. Let's get to this one. So Carter asked the question, what SEC second round game are we most excited for this weekend? I'm going to go Arkansas St. John's. I just think that for all the elements that make sense, there are so many fascinating elements to that game. Not just from the Cal versus Pitino standpoint, but also just a matchup standpoint. Yeah. It's an interesting one. So.
Yeah, I think that's got to be it.
I mean, but they're all interesting in their own right, like we said, and I think that's where
they're
it does
single digits.
Well, and it does kind of tie into the SEC first round performance stuff. I mean, none of these teams have just been completely invincible in round one. Like I said, I mean, Florida. I don't want to pick on Florida too much. Like again, they were up 30 plus in this game, and sure they may have had some defensive stretches, but I don't think we can overreact to that. But yeah, I think Arkansas St. John's probably one. Then I think you can take your pick of those second round ones. I think whoever Kentucky plays, either Xavier or Illinois, that's a fascinating matchup.
Yep.
People are mentioning Tennessee, UCLA. It's what Carter said. I think that's a fun choice. That's a like we said, I fully expect that game to be played in the 50s. And I'm not saying that means they're bad. It just means like they're both going to try to impose their style, and I think it's going to result in a clash there of of it being a bit of a grind for both. And yeah, Auburn Creighton too. I mean, Toon said that. I think that's.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, people can say what they want. I'm a little concerned about Auburn. I'm admitting it now. Like,
yeah,
I want to see how they respond.
The thing about this Saturday slate, I would not be surprised if the SEC goes 4-0. I would not be surprised if the SEC goes 0-4.
Yeah.
Saturday's dangerous.
It
is a dangerous day.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It is a dangerous slate for the SEC. I'm glad you said that. I told you I was gonna on the betting front. I'm gonna go with the ultimate SEC Doomsday parlay. I don't know if that's like an official sponsored ad, but like the SEC Doomsday parlay money line on Creighton, UCLA, Michigan, and St. John's. Just I'm going all in on it because at the very least. Man. At least me doing that prevents one of them from losing. Three of them may lose, but just me doing that, one of them, there's got to be something there. So I'm going to see what the odds are on that right now, by the way. I'm curious. So, but this is what we do. We sit here and talk about these teams all year, and then we start getting a little nervous because we're like, uh-oh, only one team can advance. Like, that's how this thing works. So
seen this before.
I know.
Uh-oh.
I don't know.
What are you thinking about the chances of a Cinderella this year? Because it could be Drake. It could be McNeese. And maybe like an 8-9 or a 7-10.
Dude, it's going to be, I'm telling you, it's going to be one of these 8-9s. I'm telling you right now. Or the 7s. Maybe one of the 7s. Or 10s in Arkansas's case. It's going to be somebody in that 7 to 10. I think one of these teams is about to go on a run, and it's just take your pick on which one it's going to be. And it might be McNeese too. I don't think they're going to have the worst matchup against Purdue. I think that bodes well actually for McNeese. So
what are those odds, McNeese against Purdue? Isn't it pretty tight? 4, 5, 6?
It's not a lot. It is. Is that the opening? Wait a minute. Yeah, that's one of the opening games tomorrow. 6.5. Is what it is. I'd like that to be 5.5, but 6.5 is the number.
Oh,
yeah. Everybody's on the McNeese train in the chat. Like I don't think that's a bad pick. Purdue's beatable.
How could you not be after that first 30 minutes of McNeese? The last 10, if you had him in your bracket, you were sweating bullets, but they got it done.
By the way, some of the other lines here, if you're curious.
Yeah.
St. John's 7.5 point favorite against Arkansas. That doesn't surprise me, but you never know with those Hogs.
Yeah.
Texas A&M is a 2.5 point favorite against Michigan. That surprised me a little bit.
Really?
Yeah. Texas Tech 6.5 point favorite against Drake. That's another one that I would ride Drake right now. Boy, that sounds bad in a non-basketball setting. But in terms of the betting, that's what we're saying. Auburn, as we said, 9.5 against Creighton.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know, man. It may be. Like, it may happen, but that one makes me nervous. Wisconsin, 1 point favorite over BYU. That's a good game, too. Like, that's one I'm going to have my eye on tomorrow.
Fun game.
Yeah. Houston and the Zags. Houston 4.5. That's a 1 versus an 8. 4.5.
Oh, man, that one's going to be stressful.
I'm telling you, somebody out there's got to take a chance on the Zags here. And then Tennessee 5.5.
Are you
over
taking the
UCLA.
Zags?
I think I might make a play on the Zags. Yeah. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but dude, I'm telling you, these 1-8-9 games, they except for
It's got
Duke,
me so nervous.
except for Duke, which I can go ahead and give you the numbers on these other games. Duke's an 11.5 point favorite over Baylor, which I think is about right. The other number ones, I'm telling you, if it's UConn with Florida, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that line's going to be interesting. So,
Man.
you know what the Alabama St. Mary's? Have you seen that line yet?
No.
Alabama 5.5.
Wow, it's pretty short.
It's pretty short. That's shorter than I thought
That's
it would
pretty
be. But
short.
Alabama,
Yeah.
Alabama didn't look great. You know what the Iowa State Ole Miss line is?
No, they didn't. Iowa State, maybe Ole Miss like plus half.
5.5.
Ole Miss plus 5.5.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a little long.
Maryland's 7.5 against Colorado State, and I think that's all we got to this point. So, yeah.
What a tournament!
What a tournament! Nobody's got Baylor covering against.
I
Duke.
like
Also got Houston Dragon the Zags, by the way.
Yes, please, nobody. I need it. Need it for my mental health. I love the upsets, but like Zach said earlier, I think it was Zach saying just about how that like we get some sweet matchups now. Sweet matchups.
Yeah. Going to be tremendous. All right, guys. We're going to hop off in a few because obviously we still have other games to watch.
Yes.
Zach with a $2 super chat saying don't sleep on the Rams of Colorado State. I agree with that.
They're
Maryland,
hot.
that's a fun game there. Colorado State and Maryland.
Maryland looked like they could win the NBA championship. Jeez.
That's why, man. The more I'm looking at Florida's path, I'm just like, oh, I don't know, man. It's brutal. Gators will earn it if they get to San Antonio, I think, with that. But
yeah.
But I know William's weighing in on the Rebels here. Yeah, I did do a reaction thing a couple of hours ago, and we talked about kind of Ole Miss's struggles there. I thought defensively a lot was made of it, but offensively I thought they had some bad offensive possessions too. But nonetheless, the Rebels move on, and like we said, we'll preview that Iowa State game for tomorrow and talk about it. But okay, guys, we're gonna hop off here shortly. We're gonna go watch Oklahoma and UConn.
Come on, Sooners.
Not going to react to that live tonight, probably. That's going to be a late finish. But obviously, if Oklahoma wins, we will turn right around and preview the Sooners and the Gators tomorrow there. And we will have game previews coming up for Kentucky versus Xavier, Illinois. We'll have them coming up for Alabama, St. Mary's. And we said Ole Miss, Iowa State as well. So, all right. That was fun. Kentucky fans, exhale.
That was
Florida
fun.
fans, exhale. Like, it's okay. Like, the SEC is going to have at least a quarter of the round of 32. And the top teams still in business right now, knock on wood, because tomorrow is where things start to get interesting. And we'll see how it plays out for these teams. But, all right, guys. Again, we appreciate you watching. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button on your way out. Check out our friends at BracketBids. Download the BracketBids app. Visit them, bracketbids.com. Hope you're enjoying the Pick'em or the Auction Draft League, whatever you decided to join in on over there. But yeah, we appreciate you guys watching as always, and turn on those notifications. So when those prediction videos go up tomorrow, you know that you should probably pick against whatever we say. All right,
Yes.
We appreciate you watching. We'll talk to you soon. Southeastern 16.